Welcome into the PFF NFL Daily as the 1972 Miami Dolphins. They pop the champagne, Sam, every time the
No,
last undefeated
I
team.
got you.
Yeah. This is all about the 72 Dolphins.
Mhm.
The last undefeated team is gone. The Cardinals finally lose. They fall to 7-1. So now the Packers move to 7-1 with the win on Thursday Night Football. Crazy finish to that game. So of course we got to pose the question: what happens now in the NFC? We don't have to fake it like the Cardinals are the best team in the NFC anymore. So who's really the best team in the NFC?
Well, for a start, I think we need a minimum number of games before you can start invoking the 72 Dolphins. Like, they're not paying attention until like at least November, right? Probably December. If you get
No,
to December,
they're
that's
just
when they're
looking.
like, hmm.
They legitimately pop champagne. It doesn't matter if it happens in October. It doesn't matter if it happens in January. They just looking for an excuse to drink every year, and so they're going to do it Friday morning probably.
I'm sure those guys are looking for it every time, but the rest of us shouldn't be paying attention until deep into November. Like 7 wins, who cares? So yes, the Cardinals finally get their first loss. Who's the best team in the NFC? It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who it's always been. Like the Bucs, I don't think have ever stopped being the best team in the NFC. I guess you could make the case that when the Rams beat them, for that week, maybe the Rams were the best team in the NFC or the Bucs were not the best team in the NFC. But basically, since then, they have been. They've got the best quarterback in Tom Brady. Incredible PFF grades this season, playing out of his mind still, despite his insane age. They've got a great offensive line. They've got a ton of great receivers. They've got incredible depth, albeit depth is getting tested right now. The defense is pretty good. Like, it's banged up. It's dealing with some injuries in the secondary, but their defense is still pretty good. So I think overall, top to bottom, the Bucs, the defending Super Bowl champions, are still the best team.
Yeah, I think overall I agree with you. I think when it's all said and done, the Bucs, they also don't have the most difficult schedule. So I do think record-wise, the Bucs probably have the edge to just getting that number one overall seed at the moment. And I do think they are the best team. As far as the Cardinals go, they're still in this conversation. It was an ugly game for the Cardinals against the Packers. The Packers did a really nice job up front. Ran the ball really effectively with Aaron Jones, with A.J. Dillon. Aaron Rodgers made just enough throws with a completely depleted group of playmakers, and just a weird finish. The Packers pretty much should have won with an
Yeah.
Aaron Jones touchdown. Like, he was in, they said he was down, they couldn't score. And then Arizona almost has a 99-yard drive. 99-yard drive to win it, except A.J. Green doesn't look for the ball and it's picked off. So I thought both teams, it was an ugly game, but, it was a competitive game. Both of those teams are still in this conversation, I would say, for best team in the NFC, though.
It was such a weird game because it kept swinging on these wild high leverage plays, fourth down, got to have it. And it would go either way. And it would suddenly go from, we were joking, like, based off the last few plays, either the Arizona Cardinals are frauds, they were never that good in the first place, or they're for real, like they're the best team in the NFL.
They almost pulled it. We almost had the podcast saying they're for real. They're still 7-0. They find a way to win.
And it was just going back and forth for the last few minutes. But if you look at the PFF power rankings on the website and just look at the NFC teams, Tampa Bay is there at number one. Arizona is right there. Obviously, they're going to drop after this game. Green Bay is the next team. The Rams, the Saints, I think, are a surprising team there. And then Dallas would be the other one that I think are a real team in this discussion. Like, those would be the teams that are all really good, that you all expect to make the playoffs, that are all have a chance of 90+% to make the playoffs according to our power rankings. And all of those teams have really good offenses, have defenses that are good enough to show up in single games and do some damage. Like, the NFC is freaking loaded.
Yeah, and I think to answer that initial question, though, you're right. I mean, they're loaded at the top. To answer the question, though, I think the Bucs would be the team I would select. I do think the Rams are right there with them, though. So now we're at a point where the Rams beat the Bucs, and the Cardinals beat the Rams, and the Packers beat the Cardinals, and the Saints beat the Packers. So all of those top teams have beat each other up, which is why they all at least have a loss. But I do think the Rams might be the most well-rounded team of the entire bunch. That offense, it's going to look even better this weekend coming out of the game against the Houston Texans. Right? I mean, they continue to, pull away from the pack as far as looking good statistically. But the Rams can win offensively through the air. Matthew Stafford has changed that offense. They are doing a great job getting the Cooper Kupp into space and creating big plays. And they still have our highest graded defense over at pff.com, premium stats, which you can get for 25% off using the promo code NFL Pod. Number one grade. So the Rams, with Aaron Donald, with Jalen Ramsey, and a good solid defense. It's not as good as last year. Probably the most well-rounded team of the bunch. And I think so to me, it's the Bucs and the Rams as the two best teams in the NFC.
Adam Schefter had a really interesting tweet earlier. The Cardinals, Packers, Buccaneers, Rams, and Cowboys have the 5 best records in the NFL.
All NFC.
Right. The NFC is the first conference to have the 5 teams with the outright best records in the NFL through 7 weeks since the merger. So it's never happened before where one conference has had essentially the top 5 teams in the NFL by record this late into the season. And I think those are the 5 teams in this discussion. I think you're right. The 2 teams we've identified probably are the best 2. But what's really interesting is that I think we've already seen that any of the other 3 are absolutely capable of beating either of those 2 teams in any given week.
NFL fans hungry for a big win this week? Well, DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, they got you covered. New customers can bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and if they do, you win $200 in free bets. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Just like Jess said on the commercial for DraftKings. She says it too, just like me. It's that simple. If Sportsbook isn't yet available in your state, DraftKings won't leave you empty-handed. Everyone can play for huge cash prizes all season long with DraftKings daily fantasy sports contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code PFF. Bet just $5 on any NFL team to win their game, and you can win $200 in free bets. If they win, you win with promo code PFF this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older.
Sorry, carry on. I forgot your terms.
Must be 21 or older. New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit, $1 wager required. 1 per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER now.
I'm not sure you can go straight in and call her Jess like we know her. We've only just established she's a real human being, let alone somebody you can nickname, right off the bat.
You were calling her out on Twitter for saying chicken dinner.
Just the new DraftKings commercial has the winner chicken dinner line from her. So I'm just saying the 2 of you are peas in a pod.
I think what you've summed up though, there's 4 teams in the AFC with 2 losses. There's 5 teams in the NFC with 1 loss. I mean, it is going to be an incredible finish and playoff push here in the NFL in general. It's wide open. And I do think the AFC is a little bit more volatile because they have more younger quarterbacks. You've got Joe Burrow, you've got Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, of course Derek Carr's in that mix too, and Ryan Tannehill. But feels a little bit more volatile over there this year, and a little bit more top heavy in the NFC. So we answered that initial question: Bucs and Rams. Again, the Bucs probably have the easiest path to the number 1 seed. I want to talk Packers really quick though. Are you buying into the Packers? I was a little down on them on the podcast coming into this week. They haven't really beaten anybody, but this is their first big signature win, and they did it without a lot of people or coaches.
Yeah, it was pretty impressive that, we said going into that game that the Cardinals are probably the better team with all the injuries and the missing receivers and all those kinds of things. But you can never discount the possibility that Aaron Rodgers will just be Aaron Rodgers, and that's enough to make up the difference. And that's kind of what happened. Rodgers won't have the best grade in the world, but his ability to just deal the ball to the flat a million times to the right guy was impressive. They didn't have those receivers. We've talked before about what happens when he doesn't have Devontae Adams. Well, he didn't have Adams. He didn't have Lazard. He didn't have Valdez-Scantling. He lost Robert Tonyan in the game. They were down to nothing. And the nothing was letting him down. Receivers were dropping important passes and those kinds of things. But as long as you have Rodgers capable of doing that, the Packers have a chance in any game.
I also think they turned to the run game a little bit, and A.J. Dillon ran hard, and Aaron Jones is just tough to tackle. He had a bunch of goal line carries that hurt his efficiency numbers and all, but it was, to me, the Packers are different this year because they're winning ugly, which usually means they're winning some games a little ugly. They've only scored 24 points in each of their last 3 games. They're not dominating on offense like they did last year, but I think they're slowly starting to show their defense can play well. Devondre Campbell defensively, Rasul Douglas, they're getting contributions from those types of players. And then the run game. And so they could just win in different ways without, our big question, is it just relying too much on Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams? Last year, maybe. This year, not as much. So, maybe that bodes well for the Packers as they go into a pretty rough stretch in their schedule. But Packers sitting there at 7-1. Cardinals also 7-1. I mean, I don't think either of those teams are the best team in the NFC right now. So going with the Bucs, as you said. Let us know. What do you think? Who's the best team in the NFC?